Are you a beginner to makeup or just trying to broaden your skills? Maybe you're trying to become a freelance artist or just do your friend's makeup. Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you all my tips and tricks to working on hooded eyes in my new Beauty Basics video series. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, my name is Kira and thank you for clicking on today's video. Today I'm going to show you all the basics on how to work with hooded eyes in my new Beauty Basics video series. So before we jump into today's video, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel as well as click the notification bell so you are reminded to when all my videos come out, which are every Wednesday by the way. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. So jumping right into the tutorial, I've already got my eyebrows on. I just used my Benefit Gimme Brow, and I'm going to go ahead and prime my eyelids with the P. Louise base in Rumor 1. So once I have the eyelid all evened out and primed, I'm going to go ahead and take a medium fluffy brush and dip into the ColourPop palette. I'm going to go in for the hot pink color. So I'm going to go ahead and tap that color right onto my eye. And I'm not going to worry too much about blending right now. I just want to really build up the color in the pigment. And I'm also going to do it in more of like a V shape to create a more angular look rather than a rounded look. And once I've gone ahead and gotten my pigment, I'm going to slowly start buffing out those edges. And ever so slightly bring whatever is left on my brush to the inner part of my eye. I am not going back and dipping in. I'm just using whatever excess is left on the brush, as well as just really moving that product and blending it out. A super important step when working on hooded eyes, when you are putting that color into the crease, you're going to want to go ahead and go a little bit higher than what the natural crease actually sits at, because when the eyes are open, you don't want to lose all of that detail that you just ended up doing. So making sure to take that initial crease color above the natural crease will help to further open up the eye and create that illusion of having a bigger eyelid space. So the next biggest step that I have is, as I did earlier when I was swishing or swooping, blending it into the inner corner of my eye, I wasn't dipping any product and stamping it right onto there. I just used excess product that I had originally put down and just slowly blended it in. One thing that I specifically like to do when working on hooded eyes is to not bring too much darkness into the inner corners here, because it already is such a smaller space that you're working with. So you want to kind of keep it a little bit lighter and brighter. This way you are further enhancing the appearance or the illusion of creating that bigger eyelid. Another thing is when creating cut creases on hooded eyes is I preferably like to do this kind of more V-shaped and wing-shaped out, just because I find it is a little bit more flattering than doing a more rounded cut crease. And typically when I do all of my cut creases, I do like doing a more wing shape of shadow. Going in with just a regular fluffy brush, I'm going to go ahead with that lilac color that's just on top of that hot pink, just ever so slightly, just to really blend out that top even more, because we did really just use excess product that was left on that first brush with the hot pink and really just took our time blending it out. It kind of helped create that transition, but I'm just going to go ahead with another lighter color just to really transition everything nicely. Then going with a really precise domed brush, I'm going to go ahead with that darkest, deepest purple and just start patting that on the outer corner, slowly working up the pigment. I don't want to go in too heavy-handed at first, because then it'll be really hard to take it away and blend that out. So I'm going to really take my time and just stamp on the product to the outer V. I'm not going to worry too much about blending just quite yet. I just want to deposit some of that color down. Once I have deposited that color down, I'm going to go ahead and just start doing little tiny circular motions to slowly bring it into that crease. and as well to slowly wing it out. Now the important thing with this deepest color that we are using is I'm not going to bring it up too much higher than what my natural crease is, because then I'm going to take away from that first shade that I put down. So I'm going to slowly blend that into that hot pink, and slowly, as well as I have less product on my brush, bring it in about 1/3 of the way into the crease. Once I've gone ahead and deposited that deepest color into my outer V's, I'm going to go back in with that first brush that we used, as well as that first hot pink color. I'm going to take very light amounts and just start going over the edge of that deepest color, just to help add a little bit more of that super bright pigment back in, because it probably would have gotten swept away just from all of the blending that we have done. And then if you really want to take it an extra step just to really deepen it, you feel like maybe you didn't get enough kind of deepen or depth into the corners of your eye, you can go ahead with a next shade darker. I don't really like to use black if I'm going to go and deepen it up, just because it can get really harsh and really muddy really fast sometimes, especially if the black you're using doesn't blend really well. But I am going to go ahead and take the next color down just to deepen up the very, very outermost corner. And then before we move on to the cut crease, go ahead and just blend anything out that may have gone a little bit too harsh again. So moving on to the cut crease of the eye, I'm going to go ahead and take a kind of rounded brush. This is the part of the Acid Rain collection from P. Louise. I'm going to go ahead and take that P. Louise base that I took before. Concealers work just as well. I use concealers all the time, but I'm going to go ahead and do one eye, and then I'll come back to show you exactly what I did and do the other eye on camera. So to cut the crease, literally all I will do is take some of the product on my brush, not too much but not too little. You gotta kind of find that perfect amount, and I go ahead and pat it along the base of my eye, and then I will go and look all the way up. This way it transfers to my lid. And the lid is going to create a mark of where that concealer or base landed, and that's gonna kind of be like your guide of just how high up you need to go, so when you put that shimmery color or the matte, whatever that lid shade color is gonna be, that it is visible when your eye is actually open. And then I like to take it just a little bit further up from that point, just so when the eye is fully open, you can still definitely see that lid color from where we just cut that crease. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do that on camera without being out of focus. So again, I'm just tapping that onto my, kind of like the root of my lash. And I'm going about halfway in. I'm going to look all the way up, or you can even kind of tilt your head. And then you're going to see I got that transfer line here, right up there, if my camera will focus. And then from there, that's when where I can kind of figure out to kind of connect my line. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit more of the product on my brush and just kind of start to dab that line. And as I get less product is when I'll drag it out, so it kind of creates its own nice gradual fade. And then I'll go ahead and just sharpen those lines. Now from this point, you can really refine the shape of the crease depending on your eye. If you have more almond eyes or round eyes, you can go ahead and just kind of tweak away at your shape. I like to kind of make it a little bit more rounded, if that makes any sense, just to make it look like I do have nice big eyelids. Another really big tip is something that I still struggle with is when I do it, I really want to stretch my eyelids. just be careful when you're doing that, because that can really kind of alter the shape. So when I'm stretching it like this, it looks kind of diagonal, but as soon as I open my eye and kind of relax my face a little bit, it does create like a nice roundness around my eye that you can kind of see on camera from this distance. But I'm going to go ahead and just refine a little bit of the lining just to make sure it's all really nice, crisp, and clean, and then we'll move on to the lid shade. To pack on my lid shade, I like going in with something that's a little bit more dense and flatter, such as these two brushes here. They're pretty much like just different sizes of each of them. They're from the Morphe like 5 or 6 piece eye set. And I'm going to go ahead with that shimmery pink shade. Before I pick that up, I'm just going to go ahead with any setting spray just to dampen my brush, just to make sure I'm really getting that nice glimmer and shimmer of the shadow. And another thing I like to do is I'll go working from one eye to another. Just make sure to pat out any creases that you may have had formed, especially with hooded eyes. You're going to be really prone to creasing, and I find the P. Louise base really picks up on all of that. So once that's done, I'm just going to go ahead and pack the lid color on, and making sure to bring it right up to that edge. Now before I go ahead and do the other eye, I'm going to show you a little trick of how I like to kind of seamlessly blend this part in. I'm going to go in with that first super hot pink shade just on the same brush and just pat over where that transition is happening. And kind of just work it in. Just be careful you're not like dragging it side to side, because then that's when you're going to get some of that shimmer onto those matte shades, which is not specifically what I'm going for. And I just kind of like to keep it a little bit more separate, just because I don't want any shimmer totally in my crease or in that outer deep V. And then once I've kind of gotten that, I'll go ahead with that smallest brush that I used and that second deepest purple color that I technically would have used. And then just do the same thing, just kind of lightly tap it. You can do like little circular motions just to really blend those two colors. And I'm just going to go ahead and refine this corner a bit. To finish the eye off with liner, the biggest tip that I have is making sure when the eye is open and you're looking straight on that we don't want to draw our liner kind of bigger than what we can visibly see right now. So with that being said, is we want to try to keep it as thin as possible and really just use it for the right amount of thickness of what our lash band is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply the eyeliner on one side, and you can kind of see the difference from there. So as you can see, I've already gone ahead and done one eye with liner. So I'm looking a little bit up, and this is me looking a little bit more straight. Hopefully it's kind of transpiring off. But essentially what you want to do is when you're looking straight at yourself, like I've already gone a tiny bit too thick here because it is already transferring. Because when I'm opening my eye, I kind of eye level, my lid is already kind of folding up and transferring up to the top. So that's how I know how I've gone a little bit too thick. Of course, that could just be because it's still wet, the liner, which in this case, it most definitely probably was, because I did just use my black Mayron paint for it. But it still gives you the kind of look that I'm going for, because when I'm looking at myself straight in the mirror, I can still see my actual visible eyelid here when I'm looking straight on in the mirror. Once you are looking straight on in the mirror and all you see is your eyeliner, and then you see the work you've done that's on your crease technically, that's when you know you've gone a little bit too thick with the eyeliner. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the other side, apply lashes, and do the bottom lash line. So to go ahead and finish off the eyes, I'm actually going to go in with that fluffiest brush that we used, along with the lightest shade that we used at the very top. It's going to be this brush. And just start to dust that underneath my lash line. And I'm going to kind of connect that to that outer corner that I've got going on there. Next, I'm going to go ahead with that other little tiny detail brush and go in with that hot pink. And this is going to be the darkest that I'm going to go on the lower lash line. I'm just going to really kind of wiggle that into my lashes and keep that more towards like the outer half, outer third. And then just going ahead using that same brush, I'm going to go into the highlighter that I used on my face, which today is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. And I'm just going to add that into the corners of my eyes. So you guys, this is the final eye look. So you guys, that is today's video. Hopefully that taught you some new tips and tricks when working with hooded eyes. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel to be notified when the next video from the Beauty Basics series comes out, as well as leave me down below any suggestions on video topics you would like to see next. And before I leave you guys, this is my daily reminder to remind you to go and follow me over on my Instagram at @memyself_makeup. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.